Wednesday, July 26th, 2023. I'm Jim Sinacropi, live inside the FingerLakes1.com studios here in Seneca Falls, New York. It's another Wine Wednesday edition. Katherine Chase is back in studio, and we're going to be sampling some wine cocktails ahead of the Cayuga Lake Wine Trail's promotion for the month of August. And it's always fun to drink a little wine on a late Wednesday morning. So first, this episode of FLX Weekly is brought to you by Lincoln Hill Farms. Quench your thirst for a good time on Saturday, August 5th. Brewfest 2023 brings together craft beer, live music, local artisans, vendors, and a one-of-a-kind experience. Brewfest 2023 includes a sampling from 32 premier breweries and beers from the Finger Lakes region and beyond, along with good tunes, good eats, amazing views, and of course a great time. To learn more, visit LincolnHillFarms.com. And also, breakfast, lunch, pastries, celebratory cakes, pies, and catering, guaranteed fresh and always local at Cafe 19 in Seneca Falls. Also offering an assortment of beverages, including tea, coffee, and espresso drinks. Check out their full menu and weekly specials, or order ahead online at xixcafe.com. Welcome back, Katherine.
Thank you.
Right in the middle of summer here. It's the dog days. The wineries are packed every weekend, it seems, and during the week.
Yep.
And, this weekend should be no different. We'll talk about some of the events that are coming up this weekend. But first, it's August, end of July, and August is next. So what's going on in August?
So we have this fun little promotion. We call it Cayuga Cocktails. So the wineries create cocktails with their wine, just a little bit of different way to sample wine. Because, you're a dry red drinker, and so you don't always want to drink dry red wine when it's super hot out.
Right.
And you'll go other wines, obviously. But we just thought it was a fun little twist to deliver wine a little bit differently in the summertime. And just to give you a different reason to visit the wineries.
Yeah.
So I brought two for us to sample, but all 12 members will have a different cocktail to sample and for folks to purchase by the glass.
That's cool to see the different varieties of things you can do with wine as a mixer, as opposed to straight up. And again, like you mentioned, in the summertime, you do sometimes want something different. Maybe you're entertaining at a barbecue or some sort of outdoor party, and you can offer people something different. So this should be it'll be fun to get out on the wineries this month and try all the different cocktails, maybe get some ideas for your own. And I'm interested. I've never other than what do they call it when you put the wine with fruit in,
like a sangria?
Sangria is probably the closest I've ever come to a wine cocktail. So this should be fun.
Yeah. So the first one coming up here is from Thirsty Owl. It is their Thirsty Cosmopolitan. They put the OWL in there to brand it. So this has Pinot Noir, Traminette, and Red Moon all mixed together, different ounces in there. So this has just all of their wines mixed together. So the Pinot Noir is obviously a dry red. It is the most predominant one. There's 4 ounces in one serving. Then there's 2 ounces of Traminette, which is a dry white, and then there's 1 ounce of Red Moon, which is a sweeter red.
So it's kind of a blend.
It's a blend. So this would be a good way if you have what some folks call leftover wine, which not everyone has such a thing. But if you did, you can make a cocktail out of it. So you just stir it and serve it chilled. You can garnish it with an orange slice if you have one. So this is the
nice and
Thirsty Cosmopolitan. They made this for me last night and then had it chilling overnight. So I imagine if you make it more in advance, it'll blend more together as well versus
this
just
is
mixing
great.
and going.
This is great. And, to be able to drink essentially a Pinot Noir. Well, you can drink straight Pinot Noir chilled too. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
That's a good wine to drink chilled because it is a lighter of the reds. But I can definitely taste the Pinot Noir in there, and I can smell it. So this is probably going to be your favorite since you're a Pinot Noir fan.
This is great, and it's light.
Yeah.
It's refreshing. I could see throwing like a orange slice in there. A little citrus mixed in with it too if you wanted to dress it up a little bit. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
And
it's all wine.
It's all Thirsty Owl wine.
It's
too,
all
right?
Thirsty Owl
all
wines.
3.
Yep.
It's also a good way for entertaining to get more for your, I don't know if it's bang for your buck, but if you have more than 4 or 5 people over, one bottle of wine doesn't go very long. But if you create this mix
Sure.
of the three, you can have a big, you know,
You can make a punch bowl
yeah, punch
or
bowl.
a whatever they're called. I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, you
The
can put it-
thing where you pour out of.
yeah, it's like a
You know what I'm
Gator,
trying to say,
a
but yeah.
tub with a nozzle.
spout thing.
Yeah, we're bad
I don't know
with
why I'm
words.
drawing a blank. I've had 2 sips of wine, but yeah, you can make it in bulk and serve it at a party over the summer and have it. You could even have the fruit floating around in it for garnishment.
Yeah, and if it was iced and the ice happened to melt a little bit, I don't think it would
No
take
big
too
deal.
much away from it. So
I don't think so.
yeah, great idea, great summer.
Oh yeah.
Option 3 different types of wines. Once again, so it's a Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir, Traminette, and Red Moon.
And Traminette is what?
It's a drier white.
Dry or white?
Yep.
Okay.
And then Red Moon is a sweet red blend.
hmm
Yep.
Yeah,
I like
it
those.
works good. I wonder how they
Yeah.
come up with that. Experimentation? Or?
Yeah, I think they had like an experiment session, which sounds terrible as an employee to have to do, you know? Yeah, I like that.
Well, Thirsty Owl is one of my favorites for sure, and this is definitely great.
Yeah.
Perfect for the month of August.
So they use 3 of their wines. The next one that we have is from Swedish Hill. It is a raspberry Moscato lemonade cocktail. So they mix together their Moscato, they call it, which is their Moscato, which is a sweet white. Their Radical Raspberry, which is a sweeter red wine, which is raspberry, and then lemonade. And they mixed it, chilled it. So this will be more of a lemony cocktail. So it's not all wine versus what we just have. Which this smells amazing when I poured it in the glass. Your
That's great.
eyes got wide.
Well, I was expecting to get a straight lemonade flavor, but you know
This is dangerous.
the wine definitely cuts through that super sweet, bite of lemonade, and it's
Yeah.
very smooth. And
I like this a lot.
yeah, you could.
This is not good.
You
Or
could
this
drink
is
this
good,
all
but this
day.
is dangerous. Yeah.
You could drink this all day.
I like this a lot. Yeah. And you could do this with any of the fruit wines that are served. Swedish Hill has a couple. All the other wineries have a couple. And these are made so you could go home with these bottles and make them at home as well.
You taste the raspberry.
Mhm.
It's yeah, this is fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, this is really good. This is definitely good. I think it's supposed to be almost 90 today. We have a 90-degree day in a couple days. This
Right.
would definitely hit the spot on those days.
Yeah. So
Poolside.
our first offering was there wasn't any thing cutting it, but the lemonade
Yeah.
certainly makes this where you could have a handful of these and
Yeah.
still be feeling pretty good in the heat.
Mhm.
So this is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Swedish Hill, we were down that way. We actually went to Buttonwood last Friday night. Hot Dogs and Gin were playing.
Cool.
It was packed, but
Oh, yeah.
that place is big enough to
Yep.
really spread out.
That
Had a-
band has a following too.
Yeah, they had
Yeah.
a food truck. It was a beautiful night. We just kind of relaxed on the lawn. Saw a lot of people that we knew.
I'm sure.
And that area, there. What's the 1869 969
680 sellers?
680 Cellars? One of my favorites. But that whole area, there's a real strong concentration where you could visit Thirsty
Yeah,
Owl,
I call
America.
it the cluster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Because they're just minutes. You can boom, boom, boom right there.
Yep. And I think one of those you can get to by boat too. See,
Thirsty Owl has a boat dock.
and so-
And if you call them, they'll come and pick you up.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's especially in summer, that's a great little area if you want to hit a few different places without going a long distance.
Yes, and there's a lot of places to stay right there too. So you can come on vacation and stay right in that cluster of wineries and not have to do a ton of traveling, which is really nice. You're right in that hub of those wineries on the east side of the lake, northeast side, the west side of the lake. I have to do my compass.
Yeah, in the west.
Yeah, I get it wrong every time. I get my lefts and rights wrong too. But so those are just 2 examples of the 12 cocktails. So I do have a list here. So Montezuma, they have what they call the Montezuma Sunrise. They use one of their wines and one of the bourbons from their spirit side of the winery.
Yeah, I was going to wonder if
together.
there's any of these
Mhm.
cocktails that actually involve some
Yes.
type of liquor
Yep.
or spirit.
Nap Winery, they have their cucumber vodka Bloody Mary, which I've brought on before. I think it was January when we did a little hangover
I
one.
remember that.
So they're offering that. Buttonwood is doing their Blackberry Royale. I've brought that on before too, which is their blackberry briar mixed with one of their bubblies, with some cute little blueberries floating around. 680 Cellars is doing, they call it a groovy tincho, which is a couple of their I'm drawing a blank. Not the Gewürztraminers.
Glockenfrosch. I can never say it right.
I was like, I don't need my notes. I'll remember it. It's a couple of their wines mixed together. I'll think of it in a second.
Well, if it's from 680, it'll be
680,
good.
Yeah. It's not the Gewürztraminer. It starts with a G, I think. Anyways, I'm losing it. It's the summer heat. Hosmer is doing a New York sour where they're mixing their estate red with Myers Farm bourbon. Lucas is doing a sunset splash with their wines mixed together. Americana is doing a Tinto de Verano. 6 Mile Creek is doing a Save All Citrus Splash, and then Long Point Winery is doing Vidal and Peaches.
Tinto de Verano, what, they got some tequila in there maybe? Or?
It's not tequila. It might be tequila. So there's a mixture of wines and wines and spirits, fruits, all of that. So they really got creative to show you that there are different ways to drink wines. You can use wine as a mixer. It can be standalone. It can be all sorts of things.
Yeah, no, that's what's fun about it is, like I say, especially for the summer, when you're looking for something refreshing and maybe a little sweeter than you would be at other points of the year, to be able to use wine in that way with mixing it with all sorts of different things. I mean, the possibilities are endless, I suppose.
Totally.
And both of the cocktails that you brought today were great.
Yep.
Both in a different way, and so you could visit each winery throughout the month of August. You don't have to do them all in one day.
No,
You can do
probably
break them
shouldn't.
up. Yeah. And eventually, maybe try to hit them all and taste each one, and you'll have your favorites. You can stock up.
Stock up, make them at home. You could do them year round too. It doesn't have to just be in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
But that lemonade one was definitely a very summery one.
So I assume you go to a winery in August and you can have your standard tasting, or
you can just purchase these right by the glass.
Right, they'll have them ready to
sit
go.
by the lawn, in the lawn with your friends. Have a tasting and then get a glass. Do whatever.
Yep. No, we've had
Listen to live music and have it.
Yeah, that's why we went to Buttonwood for the live music. Had a really good time. Boy, I tell you, it was great weather. And we've had good weather. We've had a little bit of rain, but overall this summer,
up and
I
down.
think it's been pretty solid. It's never gotten like oppressively hot.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, today it'll warm up, and I do have our weather for
Yeah.
the weekend. Actually, let me give you the weather for the weekend right now, because it's for a guy like me,
Might
this
as
is
well
a
give
great
us
forecast.
the news.
Friday, mostly sunny and hot with a high near 91. Now that is pretty warm, but then overnight on Friday, 50% chance of showers, which will usher in a little bit cooler weather for the rest of the weekend. Saturday, 50% chance of showers. That means 50% chance it's not going to rain, but a high of only 80 degrees. And then overnight on Saturday, it gets right down to 60 degrees. And then Sunday, we get a real cool down. A beautiful day on Sunday. Mostly sunny, high of only 76, which to me is the perfect number. And then heading back to work next week, sunny with a high of 75. So hot to end this week. By the time we get through the weekend, it'll feel almost autumn-like, but it'll be great. Highs in the 70s. No excuse to not get out and enjoy some of the stuff that we have to offer in this region here while summer. We're still in the middle of summer, I know it. Now that we're heading into August, we kind of winding down, heading towards Labor Day and fall, but right in the heart of summer, plenty to do.
We've been really lucky with cooler nights too. I don't know
Yeah.
how we've gotten so lucky, and that's, I think, been our saving grace.
Well, when you
This
look
summer.
at other parts of the world or country right now, I mean, Phoenix, Arizona has I think it's been 15, 16 days straight of over 110 degrees.
Wild.
I mean, can't even imagine.
No, I can't.
110 degrees.
And we've had a couple 90-degree consecutive days,
Yeah.
but that's not much because it was still cool at night.
Right.
And that's kind of what it is, like I said, saving us. So yeah, it'll be hot today and it'll be hot Friday, but it's still down at night.
Well, can you imagine, we're talking about touching 90 today in the Finger Lakes. 20 degrees hotter than that. Can you imagine the difference between 70 and 90, and then the difference
20
between
more.
90 and
Yeah.
110?
No, I actually cannot.
So
I don't even want to.
it's another great reason to live in the Finger
Yeah.
Lakes, honestly. You know, our climate right now with all the global warming that's happening, we're pretty well positioned here in the Finger Lakes to not have that type of oppressive heat for sure. And honestly, you know, fall is fantastic, and our winters have become a little milder too. So,
Knock on wood, don't jinx us.
No.
We've had a really excellent rain summer too. It's been on and off, so it hasn't been overly wet and hasn't been overly dry. It's been really good for the grapes and the plants and everything.
yeah.
Which
So
has been perfect.
we started this from you know, grape growing perspective, looking at what the 2023 vintage will be like. We were super dry in early summer, late spring, early summer, drought conditions almost, and then we got a lot of rain right following that, and then it kind of balanced out. We had an early frost, a heavy frost,
Yeah.
a late frost, I should say, a late heavy frost. So the the wineries have had a lot to deal with this year.
Yeah.
But any reports on how it's shaken out? Like,
You know, I heard a little bit. The grapes are growing really well to the point where they do have to thin them a little bit. Because the more rain they get, the more prolific they grow, obviously.
right,
But I think that's a better problem to have than not enough,
right,
you know? So they're not displeased.
good.
And our lake didn't get as much damage with that late frost as others did,
Hmm.
which we're fortunate for. There were some that had more damage than others on Cayuga. But the second budding that came after that is doing well. So we're fortunate. Some vineyards on other lakes were total losses,
Yeah, that's,
unfortunately. And yeah, they have crop insurance, but that doesn't cover everything.
yeah.
Doesn't cover what they lost in the retail room.
Well, and it doesn't help us wine drinkers.
No, it doesn't help the wine drinkers. The best you can do to support the tasting rooms is to buy in the tasting rooms to support them. But
Mhm.
I think Mother Nature has been trying to do her best. She's probably like, oops, sorry about the frost. But it's been okay. So at least she hasn't been dry
Right,
and not giving them grapes to make up for the frost.
right.
So,
Yep.
so far so good.
So we'll hope.
As long as we're not super dry from here on out.
Yeah, and I don't think that'll be the case. We've had a lot of dry falls, which is that's great for harvesting, right? You don't want a lot of
Yeah,
moisture in the
'cause
fall.
When they're full grapes and it's super, super rainy, then they'll start to burst and then all the precious juice goes away.
Right.
And that's why they'll pick in the morning too. When they're, it's a very fine line. So harvest time is when we need the weather to be perfect.
That's one thing I've also noticed driving through the region, or when I was at Buttonwood, was the vines are full. Like
Oh,
they're
full.
mature and full
They're
and
beautiful.
leafy. Yep. So
To the
something look
point where they
forward
are going to start thinning, so that they're not putting nutrients to everywhere. They'll have to thin them so that they can concentrate
on the grapes.
on the grapes and not too many grapes.
Yeah.
Because then the juice is diluted if there's too much grape. So if they get rid of some, then they can concentrate and have better quality juice on less.
No, it's a
'Cause
balance
it's
for sure. Balancing
quantity
act.
over quality, or
Right.
quality over quantity.
Right. And I guess everybody does it a little different. I read an article last night. I can't remember. It was a wine magazine online about proper ways to prune, or some ways that are traditionally people prune that is actually detrimental to the when you want these vines to last. Maybe 100 years instead of 20 years. And then I went down the rabbit hole. Apparently, you can go get a degree in pruning.
Well, I'm sure you can.
And so this article focused on an Italian pruner. That's what he does. And so he gets hired out by wineries all over the world to come in and do these special prunings, or to teach their viticulturists how to properly prune the vines. And that's one of the great things why I love wine. It's so much goes into it. It's not an exact science. Everybody
Labor of
can
love,
do it a
that's
little
for sure.
different. Yeah, and whether it's the weather or the soil or the climate.
And the
it all-
people who are tending all of it.
Right, and
all
then
those factors.
the techniques, and
Mhm.
then what you do after you pick. I mean, there's a million formulas that can be employed before the wine gets into the bottle.
And so if you have one Riesling, you had them all, it is not true.
Right.
It's different everywhere, every year, every
Yep.
winery, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face every time I'm on.
Yeah.
It's different every year. Keep trying it. Every winery, every winemaker is different. Every year's different. Every vintage is different. Keep trying it because it's ever changing, ever evolving.
And I mentioned earlier how we're so comfortable here in the Finger Lakes in this era of global warming. That's only going to help the wine region too, because God, with this, like I was reading about some of the Napa vintages lately, and they kept calling the term of smoke taint, tainted
Yeah.
by the smoke. And I've also read about how Napa Valley might not be able to produce the same high quality that they've been world renowned for, and how that's actually shifting north to other regions now that
Sure.
the climate that made Napa Valley so prolific is now shifting north. So places like Northern California and Oregon and Washington State might have a better climate now for producing these grapes. But right here in the Finger Lakes, we're right in a nice little sweet spot.
Yeah.
It's great.
As long as the Canadian wildfires only happen in the early part of the bud break.
Right.
They happened when it didn't affect. So if it happened later in the grape season, it could have had the smoke taint that you read about, because
Right.
it could have gotten in the grape. And that's exactly what happens in California in the Napa area. The smoke literally infiltrates the grape,
Right.
like when you smoke meat.
Yeah.
That same
Well, that could
concept.
be
You don't want
a-
that in your grape, and that's what is now a flavor in their grapes. And so as long as that's not a common issue
Right.
for us
Yeah.
in Canada, we don't have to worry about that.
Well, this is the first year I've ever
Yeah.
experienced anything like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of surreal when it's happened. I don't know if we're done or not. It was
I heard on the
actually-
radio Chicago was experiencing it from Canada. So it's still going on, but it's not quite hitting us.
Well, it was a week or two ago where we got another blast
Yeah.
of the smoke, and just is such a strange thing.
It is. But it didn't affect our grapes when it did happen, luckily. Not like it did in California.
Yeah.
So as long as, it probably wasn't common there in California, and
Oh,
then
sure.
eventually it's now a season.
Yeah, it's definitely.
So as long as that doesn't happen and is not now a factor for our winemakers,
Right. Yeah. Well.
they'll
Crazy
they'll
time.
persevere and overcome if it is, I suppose. But it'd be cool if they didn't have to deal with it.
Yeah. Well. There's nothing we can do necessarily.
No, not really.
about that.
We could
so
talk about it,
we
but
just gotta live with it. But
Yeah.
luckily, nothing in our
yes.
region proper here is on fire.
No.
Luckily. So anyways, in August, Cayuga Cocktails on the Cayuga Lake Wine Trail. Something different everywhere you go. Not that you need an excuse to get out and visit some of these great wineries of the Cayuga Lake Wine Trail right now in prime time. Is there anything going on coming up this weekend?
Yeah,
or
so
moving forward?
every Thursday night, including this Thursday night, 6 Mile Creek has their Sunset concert series, music from 6:30 to 8. Friday evening, music at Buttonwood Grove that Jim went to.
Mhm.
Saturday afternoon, there's music at both Knapp and Buttonwood Grove. And Sunday at Hosmer, they have Vinyasa in the vineyard, followed by music and mimosas. And that happens pretty much every weekend.
Yeah.
All of those locations.
Hey, and if you see Katherine or I out along the trail, please say hello. I love to hear from people
Yep.
that watch
We
the
were
show.
out on Saturday at Buttonwood.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, so I missed you. I was there Friday. You were
Yep.
there Saturday. Okay. Well, like I said, spend some time this weekend. The weather should be fantastic for hitting up a few wineries, whether you go to one place and set up shop and listen to some music or hit up a couple. It would be a great weekend to do it. So thanks, Katherine, for coming in
Thank you.
and providing us with these wine cocktails.
Cocktail.
And we'll be back with Katherine a month from now at the end of August, where we'll start to shift to more of a fall flavor and find out what's going on in the wineries coming up in September. But if you do like the show, please click like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back next Wednesday. Until then, have a great last weekend of July here in the Finger Lakes.